What's up, everybody? This is the Big Snub coming to you with one of my first build videos on Twitch. I'm also going to be updating this build video for my other social accounts like YouTube, etc. So if you're looking for a Templar who can survive out here in this new meta, which is all tanks and DKs and Frost Wardens with high CCs, this is a really good build for Templar if you really like to play Templar like I do. I've tried so many different things, and believe it or not, after doing a little bit of research and checking through skills and kind of continuing to work towards the gameplay and the game style that I like for PvP, this is kind of what I came up with. So let's dive into it. Obviously, I'm gonna have to queue up for Cyrodiil. Who knows what the queue is? We will find out here in just a second, and we can start the build video going through the skills, champion points, gear, etc. while we're waiting to queue into Cyrodiil. As you can see, I am a August Palatine grade 1, about 37 and a third. I am trying to get to 50 on my Templar. He is my favorite character, besides my bomber, that's for sure. That bomber that I got Emperor with is such a fun tune to play on. I've only played 3 days. This is my 4th day in this campaign, so it's been a red wave out here. Absolute red wave. Oh, look at that. I got right in. Would you look at that? Would you just look at it? Would you just look at it? Alright. So, before I go ahead and get my group together and start PvPing, let's go through this character's build. We will start off with attributes. As you can see, I'm running 64 points in health. These are all unbuffed stats right here. So, unbuffed, front bar 40,020 health with 15,393 max magicka and 16,453 max stamina. We have 4331 spell damage unbuffed, as well as 4125 weapon damage. Pretty decent spell and weapon critical still. And this is with the Balord's monster set. So my penetration is sitting a little higher than the original build, running the Gaze of Sithis for the extra health recovery. I'm gonna try out the Balord's version tonight to see how much more damage we put out, because I'm putting out really good damage using the Gaze of Sithis. I also have a really good amount of health recovery in Cyrodiil, just over 1,000 health recovery with the Gaze of Sithis on, and the other one-piece shoulder that I'm running gives me a bunch of resources. So we can start out with the Balorgs run through, and then I will run you through the original build with the Gaze of Sithis. I'm not a big fan of it though for group play, because you have that 0 block mitigation, and yeah, not really good for group play. Although if you're good at moving and you can avoid the DC pulls, it's still viable. So we are running the Lover Mundus Stone. Now, I truly think the Lover Mundus Stone for DPS is by far the way to go, unless you're just trying to stack weapon and spell damage, which would be the Warrior, which is usually what I run on my Stamplar. But being that we already have decent weapon damage when we're buffed up, I went with the Lover for more penetration, and also to complement the other gear and skill combo I'm running to get my penetration. So that's that. We got 64 points in health. Lover Mundus Stone. As you can see, we got major savagery and major prophecy from our skills at all times. We got 18,226 spell resistance, 17,500 physical resistance, and 1320 critical resistance. Unbuffed. Now let's go ahead and go through the gear. Alright. So for our first 5-piece set, I'm rocking Stoon's Favor set. Stoon's gives us 129 weapon and spell damage, 1487 offensive penetration to give us a little bit more pen, and another bar of weapon and spell damage. And then when you deal damage to an enemy who is off balance, your physical and spell penetration is increased by 5312 for 10 seconds. So using this, we are stacking our penetration, and we're using stuns because of the Templar's skill toppling charge. When you charge with your Divine Lance to impale an enemy, dealing 4286 magic damage, stunning them for 3 seconds and setting them off balance, interrupts the target if they were casting. So this is my gap closer. This is my main spammable when I'm pulling them out of health, you know, trying to just put the pressure on them. And it is a really, really great skill for Templars. It has a really good range with 22 meters. So yeah, that's the way I'm getting my stuns, my Stoons to proc. I like to call it stuns. I mean, whatever you guys prefer, Stoon, stuns. I like stuns. So this is the skill I'm using to proc my stuns and to give me all that extra penetration and to really be able to put the pressure on them. Alright, so let's go back to our gear. We're rocking a Nirnhoned mace with a shock damage enchant on our main hand. We are rocking another mace sharpened to give us some more physical and spell penetration with a Crusher enchantment to just give a little bit more physical and spell resistance reduction on our enemy. Okay, now our other stuns pieces are going to be the bottom 4 of our body pieces, which is waist, bracers, guards, and feet. As you can see, I'm rocking well fitted on all of these pieces. I went medium on everything but the belt. I went light belt because we are rocking some heavy pieces, and that's going to give us the extra buffs from the Undaunted passives. So light sash, medium bracers, medium guards, and I'm rocking Druid's boots on the feet. Now this is another one of my one-piece sets because we're stacking max health on this build, so that gives us a whole nother whopping 1206 health for being a 1-bar piece. You could go trainee here again. I just feel like having that extra 1 bar of health is just really badass. If we went trainee, we would just be getting more Magicka. So I went with this one-piece Druids, which is new High Isle craftable set. As you can see, we only needed the 1 bar of health. Because the main skills that we're going to be using on this guy are stacking off of maximum health. Now, we are going right now with the Balorg's monster set. So we are rocking 3-piece heavy, 1 light, 3 medium on this build. As you can see, Balorg's is all heavy with divines. Now usually I would be rocking well fitted on this. I just kind of took this off of my necro, so I don't really feel like spending the transmutes to make another one when I have so many of them. So we're just rolling with divines for now. It'll give us a little bit more penetration from our Mundus Stone. We're rocking reinforced Balorg's heavy shoulders, and everything has a multi-effect enchantment on it. Everything is prismatic. So, chest piece. Curious of the Trainee. That gives us another bar of health. We're rocking reinforced on it for the extra armor. And yep, those are our body pieces. As you can see, we're stacking a lot of armor, a lot of health, a lot of magicka and stamina. We have well fitted on 4 pieces, reinforced on 2, and divines on 1 currently. Now for our back bar set, I am rocking Warrior Poet. Now this is a really, really great set, especially if you're trying to base your build off of max health. Now, if we switch to the back bar, you can automatically see, unbuffed, my health goes up quite a bit. It's a great set. I used to rock it on my Necro tank when I was a Harbinger tank, and I really enjoyed it. And I said, you know what, let's put this on a Templar, and let's just get super tanky and have a ton of health. Because out here you need it, especially with the way Cyrodiil has been lately. You know, there's times where we're running up against reds and blues and we're extremely outnumbered. We're getting attacked by 20 to 30 guys at a time. So you really need health out here in Cyrodiil to really be viable, you know, to be useful for AD and be able to survive out here. And like I said, be viable. So I'm rocking the bow, defending on the back bar with a weapon damage enchantment. This is going to be our back bar defensive set. Now I went with bow because I'm not running race against time. I'm not running any swift on the jewelry, and this is another thing that allows me to really complement the build with some of the champion points and other skills that I'm using, and we'll get into that here in a little bit. I went with defending just to be tankier on the back bar, berserker enchantment in order to get that extra weapon and spell damage when we're coming from back bar to front bar and we start doing our burst damage. Now, jewelry. We went with Warrior Poets, obviously, because we're doing 5-piece Warrior Poet. Neck is going to be multi-effect enchantment, so we're getting that extra 84 recovery in magic, health, and stamina. Same thing on Warrior Poet's ring. We're just getting all that extra recovery and health. And on the other ring, I went with a spell damage enchantment just to get a little extra spell damage. It seems to be working pretty well. I have really good sustain on this build and could probably go infused on this jewelry with full weapon damage, or even just infused on all pieces and maybe just do weapon damage or spell damage on the rings and the recovery multi-effect enchantment on the necklace. I really feel like we could take away this extra, you know, 2,700, 3,000 health and still be pretty tanky. We'd be sitting at about 50k buffed up still on our back bar, but this is kind of what I started out with. It's working good, so I'm not going to change it right now, but that is definitely something I've been thinking about changing up to with the infused jewelry and weapon damage, because you know, you can't go wrong with more damage, especially on a Templar. So those are my gear. That's my gear right there. I'm not rocking any poisons. Like I said, shock enchantment, charged weapon enchantment on the main hand, and a crusher enchantment on the backhand. Now let's go ahead and get into our skills. On our front bar, we are rocking biting jabs. Biting jabs. Spear deals 2737 physical damage to the closest enemy and 1784 physical damage to all other enemies. Obviously, this is going to be a little bit more. Each strike reduces the movement speed of the closest enemy by 40% for 0.5 seconds. This is also where we're going to get our major brutality and major sorcery, increasing our weapon and spell damage by 20% for 10 seconds. So, rally isn't needed. We don't need to run degeneration. This is going to be where we get our major brutality and major sorcery for that extra weapon damage. Awesome that they added that to the biting jabs. It's really paying off. Now here is toppling charge. This is what's going to give us that stun. This is what's going to set them off balance, interrupt them. It's really going to allow us to close the gap and keep the offensive pressure on the enemy. Living Dark. Living Dark is our main heal. It lasts 12 seconds. Anytime you take direct damage, the sphere lashes back at the attacker, reducing their movement speed by 40% for 3 seconds and healing you for 2494 health. These effects can occur once every half second. So the entire time you are taking damage, you're pretty much healing yourself. And this is really the only heal I need. Although I do have Vigor slotted over here for bigger heals, because it just has been so zergy out here, and you can't go wrong with Vigor. It gives you minor resolve now, which increases your physical and spell resistance by 2974 for 20 seconds, and it gives you that big heal over time with a whopping 13132 health over 5 seconds. We're also rocking Camouflage Hunter. Obviously, everyone knows what Camouflage Hunter does. It is how we expose enemies like Nightblades, anyone with invisibility pots, etc. They cannot return to stealth for 4 seconds. You're getting your major savagery, major prophecy, increasing your weapon and spell critical by 2629 at all times while slotted. With Camouflage Hunter, it is a little smaller radius. Evil Hunter has that extra 3 meters, which is what I usually run, but you get minor berserk for 5 seconds after dealing critical damage from an enemy's flank with Camo Hunter, so that's what we're going with. Now we are running Dawnbreaker of Smiting as our ultimate. Now I love the stun from this. I love the additional dot that it gives on the enemies. The additional 13,341 physical damage over 6 seconds with a big 2-second stun. Used at the right time. This is a great ultimate, low cost ultimate. Lasts 6 seconds with the dot damage and has a really big 10-meter radius and a really short cast time. So now, going through our passives, okay, if we look at the Fighters Guild passives, when you're rocking Dawnbreaker with the passives, okay, increases your weapon and spell damage by 3% for each fighter's guild ability slotted. Currently 6% more weapon and spell damage. Rock and Camo and Dawnbreaker. We're also generating 3 ultimate every time we kill an enemy, which is crucial out here. Ultimates win fights, ultimates kill enemies. So that's our front bar, everyone. We are going to be switching to our back bar. Let's go ahead and switch to the back bar. Starting out, we have Extended Ritual. This is our cleanse. This cleanses up to 5 harmful effects from yourself immediately and healing you and nearby allies for 2,384 health every 2 seconds for 30 seconds. It lasts 30 seconds. It is crucial on a Templar to rock this extended ritual. A lot of people will say no cleanses because of all the plague breakout here, but you need cleanses regardless, especially sitting on rams and oils, you know, all that. You know, when you have plague break, you need to be smart about your cleanses, and you need to be mindful of all the other friendlies around you. Okay, I like to put blue as my what is it, the friendly AoE stuff on the ground. I have it pretty much royal blue. That way I can see exactly where these cleanses are, and obviously going, you know, pretty bright red for enemy area of effects that are on the ground. Now, using this, allies in the area can activate the Purify synergy, cleansing all harmful effects from themselves and healing for 5323 health. Next is Restoring Focus. This is a must-have for a Templar. You create a rune of celestial protection. You gain major resolve for 20 seconds, getting a whopping 6k spell and physical resistance, and you also get that stamina recovery. 242 stamina every 1 second for the duration of 20 seconds. This is going to be one of our buffs for our stamina recovery. Now, standing within the rune heals you for 34 health every 1 second, which scales off your max health. So the higher our health, the bigger this heal is. We will actually equip our food at the end of this, go through our buff ups, and see where we stand buffed up with our food. Now, this is one of the main skills for our build, is our Blazing Shield. Surround yourself with solar rays, granting a damage shield that absorbs up to 7,856 damage for 6 seconds. This is also an ability that scales off your max health. So whenever we eat our food and we get that extra health and, you know, we're buffed up, this is gonna get a lot stronger, bigger damage. Now, each enemy nearby increases the shield strength by 4% when activated. So the more enemies that are around you with this skill on, the more damage it's gonna do, and the bigger the shield strength is gonna be. When the shield expires, okay, it explodes outward, dealing 29% of the damage it absorbed to nearby enemies. I have had Night Blades come up to me when I've been on siege after hitting this skill, and I've been end capped, and this skill has completely just wiped them, especially stacked with our next skill, which is Spiked Bone Shield. Spiked Bone Shield, you surround yourself with a whirlwind of bones, gaining a damage shield that absorbs up to 8115 damage for 6 seconds and returns 85% of direct damage absorbed back to the enemy. This is another ability that scales off of our max health. So same thing, when we eat our food, we get more health. This is going to do a lot more damage, and it is going to be a lot bigger of a damage shield. An ally near you can activate the Bone Wall synergy, granting the ally and up to 5 other allies a damage shield equal to 17% of their max health for 6 seconds. So not only are we giving ourselves a damage shield and getting that big high 85% direct damage absorbed back to the enemy, but we're also supplying up to 5 other allies a damage shield equal to 17% of their max health for 6 seconds. So it's quite a good skill offensively and defensively. Now, Power of the Light. Now, I went with the stamina one. It's low costing. It lasts 6 seconds. It has a really far range of 41 meters. This, a lot of people have asked, well, why wouldn't you go with the Magicka version? And it's simple. This gives us minor breach. Okay, so just keeping minor breach on the enemy at all time is really worth it to me. Lowering their armor by 2974, almost 3k armor reduction on the enemy. You summon an expanding beam of pure sunlight to doom an enemy, dealing 2,912 physical damage immediately, marking them for 6 seconds, applying minor breach for 10 seconds, reducing their armor by 2974, so almost 3,000. Now, after the duration ends, the sunlight bursts, dealing 3,222 physical damage to the enemy, which increases based on the amount of damage you dealt to them over the duration, up to 200%. So before we start DPSing and really going through our rotation offensively, we need to make sure that this skill is on at all times. With that extra 200%, we can really put out some damage on these guys that we're targeting. So the only downside to this skill to me is that you can only have one at a time, but like I said, you're running a group, you use this Power of the Light, it marks them, everybody can focus that guy because they have a big beam of light on their head, and it's a really big 200% burst damage when the effect ends. On the back bar, I am rocking Reviving Barrier. This is kind of like a, oh shit, I need this, let me use this and kite around and kind of put some distance between me and the enemies attacking me, but at the same time, I'm rocking it in order to get the extra Magicka recovery for rocking this in Cyrodiil. So, Reviving Barrier, you're going to get yourself and nearby group members with wards that each absorb up to 15,450 damage for 30 seconds. The ward also heals you and your group members for 15,210 health over 15 seconds. It's a little costly, being 238. It does last 30 seconds and has a good 12-meter radius with an instant cast time. Now, if we're looking at our passives for support, you can see why running Barrier on the back bar would be good. Now, we get 10% Magicka recovery for each support ability slotted. So not only is it good on this build for the damage shield and the big heals that you get from it, especially for your allies with you, but also to get that extra 10% Magicka recovery. Alright, so that's the build. Obviously we're rocking a Orc. Okay, Orc is one of my favorite DPS races. You could also go with Wood Elf on this and Red Guard. even Nord if you wanted to be a little more tankier and have those bigger resistances. I personally went with Orc. For the max stamina, you get an extra 1000 stamina, you get an extra 1000 health, and then when you deal damage, you heal for 2593 health, which can occur once every 4 seconds, and you get an increase of 258 for weapon and spell damage. It also reduces the cost of sprint by 12%, and increases the movement speed bonus of sprint by 10%, which is going to get me back into why I'm running Orc with a bow. So with bow, if we go to our bow, passives. So with a bow equipped, you have an extra 14 critical chance. You also, dealing damage with a light attack or a heavy attack increases the damage of your bow abilities by 5% for 5 seconds, stacking up to 5 times. That's Hawkeye. We're not really using any skills on the bow, but we can swap and put like poison injection, lethal arrow in place of vigor, as well as power of the light. Those are kind of flex spots. If you want to kind of have some range damage as well. Hasty Retreat is our main passive that we are using, combined with our damage shields, our Orc race, and champion points, which we'll get into here in a second. Grants you major expedition for 4 seconds after you use dodge roll. Major expedition increases your movement speed by 30%. So instead of running race against time for our speed, we're using roll dodge for our movement speed, which lasts 4 seconds. Now you say, well, 4 seconds, that's not really enough. You're having to use dodge roll, in order to get major expedition. You're going to be losing stamina, but you'll see why I went with this when we get into the champion points. So, getting into champion points, I'm not really going to go through the green tree. Everybody pretty much knows this green tree. I'm going to just basically go through warfare and fitness, our blue and red trees. Now, for the blue tree, obviously I went with all of the passive abilities that I could get, and our 4-piece. We are rocking Exploiter. Okay, this is going to be paired up very well with our gap closing ability on the Templar, which is right here on the front bar, toppling charge. It's going to set them off balance and stun them. So if we go back to champion, that gives us a whopping 10% more damage done on off balance enemies, and we're going to be spamming toppling charge. So most of the enemies that we are fighting, we're going to be doing 10% more damage against them. It's a great skill to pair her with toppling charge. Okay, now our other is Master at Arms. Increases your damage done with direct damage attacks by 3% per stage. So we also have another 6% damage increase here for direct damage, which is at all times. We have 2 defensive champion points here in the blue tree. Ironclad to get a 6% damage reduction on direct damage attacks, as well as duelist rebuff, so we can get a 6% damage reduction taken by single target attacks. For the red tree, now this is where it gets a little bit interesting. Obviously I'm going boundless vitality, which gives me another 1400 max health, because this is a max health build. I'm rocking Slippery, When you're affected by a disabling effect, you automatically break free for no cost. After using this effect, you become winded and cannot trigger this effect or others like it for 21 seconds. So, rather than having to spend the stamina on it, we are using the champion point to automatically break free for no cost. 21 seconds is a long time in Cyrodiil, especially in fights against multiple enemies. However, if you can get that first break free at no cost, the way our stamina recovery is set up, we really never really get feared too much or stunned too much, unless it's one of those things where we're just getting stuck at a point to where we're out of resources and we can't break free, or when we're in extreme lag especially. This has been working great for me. I absolutely love it. Oh yeah, no, not done with the red tree yet. So our other third is going to be Bastion. Bastion gives us a 15% effectiveness of our damage shields, as well as a 15% more damage done to enemies who are shielded with damage shields. This is absolutely crucial to this build, as we are running the Blazing Shield, we are running the Bone Shield, we are running Living Dark. This is a must-have for this build. It is absolutely great. I love it. And for our fourth and final champion point in the red tree, we are running Arcane Alacrity. Okay, now this is absolutely crucial to the build, as well as we are having to dodge roll in order to get our major expedition, in order to be fast and to be able to kite and break away and kind of get out in front of the pack if we need to. It gives us an 800 cost reduction for damage or for dodge roll while we have a damage shield on, which is at all times on this build. So really great. I can dodge roll about 8, 9, 10 times before I really get worried about losing my stamina or not having enough stamina to really engage in combat or run, sprint, etc. So definitely great for this build. I'm loving it a lot. And then passives everywhere we can. Alright, so that's the champion points. Now let's go through our rotation. Actually, before we do that, I want to show you the other set that I have been running. It is another One Piece mythic, Gaze of Sithis. As you can see immediately when hovering over the Gaze of Sithis, our maximum health goes up to 43,689 on the front bar unbuffed. This gives you an extra whopping 3,276 maximum health. It adds 1,025 health recovery, 4,000 armor, but reduces your block mitigation to 0. Now, if you're like me and you're out in PvP a lot, blocking is crucial. However, this is more of a solo play build, like a 1vx build, and you're really not getting pulled into Dark Convergence too much when you're running around solo. So I didn't really feel the need to really have the block mitigation. So this is kind of what I started out with, and I was loving it, because you know, once you come into Cyrodiil, you know, you're getting that reduced healing received. Also, health recovery is decreased by 50% with Battle Spirit. So damage taken and shield strength decreased by 50%. Healing received decreased by 55%. Health recovery is decreased by 50%. Ability range of 28 meters or more increased by 8. So those are the new effects of Battle Spirit while in PvP. So as you can see right now, unbuffed, my health recovery is only 267. Now, if we put on the Gaze of Sithis, our health recovery goes up quite a bit. 841 from 200. Now, we have no food on. Our resistances go up quite a bit. Our penetration's really not lacking whatsoever. We lost about 700 of our penetration, and our weapon and spell damage is still sitting right there. We have that extra 3,000 something health on the front bar, and back bar you're looking at a whopping 6,000 more health as well with the back bar. That's definitely quite a bit. We're not really looking for penetration or anything as far as our weapon critical, spell critical damage on the back bar whatsoever. Back bar is simply for engaging our shields, doing our roll dodges and kind of being able to kite and still have the high physical and spell resistances, and that movement speed since we're rocking bow, and extra health. So I will go back and go through the other one piece that I like to run on the shoulders. I am rocking another well-fitted Damihas pauldron, now with a health enchantment, so it is pretty good. So you get 386 maximum health, another bar of maximum stamina with another 1096 maximum magicka. So you can change this out and go with like magma incarnate for the extra magicka and stamina recovery. You could go with crags here for more offensive penetration. You could go with Lord Wardens for the extra 1407 armor. It's really just based on your gameplay and what works well for you, but I've been finding out that this works pretty well for me, especially having that extra piece of well fitted, which reduces the cost of roll dodge and sprint by 6%. We're constantly using roll dodge, we're constantly sprinting, so having these well fitted pieces really is crucial to this build. Now, I played with this all night last night. It was good. I was in a group. Just not being able to block is kind of the downside to this, but this is what I'm going to be playing on tonight. And as you can see, the Gaze of Sithis is reinforced as well with a prismatic enchantment, and the only prismatic enchantment we are not using will be on our Damihas pauldron. Since it's already given us the 1096 stamina and magicka, we need this to have as much health as possible to pretty much be a prismatic piece of well fitted. Like I said, 3 heavy head, chest, shoulders, light waist, and medium hands, legs, and feet. 3 heavy, 1 light, 3 medium. We do this because of the Undaunted passives. The Undaunted Command and Undaunted Metal increases your max health, stamina, and magicka by 2% per type of armor, heavy, medium, and light that you have equipped. Since we have 1 of each, we are sitting at a 6% bonus of max health, stamina, and magicka. Absolutely amazing passive skill. Definitely recommend using it in PvP. The more health, the more stamina, the more magicka you have in here, the better. Now we will go through our rotation. So before we fight, we are hitting our ritual, we are hitting our rune, we are hitting our blazing shield, our spike shield. We are power of the lighting them, okay? Power of the light attack bow, that's going to increase our weapon and spell damage. We are swapping to the front bar, and Living Dark, which is going to be our main heal and damage shield. We are hitting jabs, we are hitting our toppling charge, and we are light attack, weaving, toppling charge, while constantly making sure that our blazing shield and spike bone shield are on at all times, as well as Living Dark. These are going to be the main DPS defensive skills that we have that are going to keep our keep that damage from actually damaging our health and really absorbing that damage, but also putting out big burst damage when the effects end from however much damage we absorb. So that's the build, guys. It is definitely a fun build. I'm going to go ahead and show you the potions I'm running as well as the food. Now, food, you can go with sugar skulls, you can go with Artaeum takeaway broth, you can go with Dubious Cameron Throne, Jewels of Misrule, but the best food, even though it's so expensive, is Orzaga's Smoked Bear Haunch, which gives you 4312 max health. It gives you an extra 406 health recovery, and stamina and magic recovery is increased by 369, and it lasts 2.5 hours. This is the food that I run. I run Jewels of Misrule from time to time, which is pretty much the same thing, increasing stamina and magic recovery by 357 and max health by 3927. But as you can see, you get a little bit of extra health and a little bit of extra recovery for both. So we are going to put on our Orzaga's Smoked Bear Haunch, and we are going to go ahead and look at our skills. We have 48.7k health on the front bar. We have a whopping 55k health on the back bar. Now, as you can see, when we proc this up and we put our damage shields on, you can see that we have some really good mitigation for health. It really is a max health build. 55k health on a Templar DPS build. You know, we have 16.4k magicka, we have 17.4k stamina. Those stay the same, front and back bar. Now let's go ahead and buff up and take a look at our stats. Currently looking at 35k resistances. We're looking at weapon and spell damage is going to be sitting right at about 5241 spell, 4646, with that penetration being 10,808. Stamina recovery is right at about 1200, health recovery is 1068, and magic recovery is right at about 1093. This is plenty of recovery to be viable for any form of PvP. Health recovery especially, that is pretty high health recovery, especially paired with the stamina and magic recovery. So we don't really tend to run out of resources too much, and if we do, we hit a potion, we get in our rune, we get in our ritual of retribution, you know, we kite, and you know, by the time we need our potions and everything. We're back to full health. Our damage shields are on, and we're ready to rock and roll again. So that's the build. Let me know what you guys think. Personally, it's been absolute fun playing this Templar build in Cyrodiil. The way it's been lately, like I said, super zergy. Just multiple people fighting at once. This is a really good 1vx build if you want to run solo. I'm going to get into some gameplay here. So let's rock and roll.